Hi everybody, thank you very much for joining us for the final TNT of the week. Just a very quick explanation as to what happened yesterday, except I'm not really sure what happened. Basically, I wasn't unable to upload the program. It just, the graph of percentage upload just wouldn't budge. So I was wandering around the city going to cafes and trying to find other Wi-Fi. Went to True to try and sort out my phone, and it went on and on and on. 5 hours later, I was in an Apple store, and it took 3.5 hours to upload on the fastest Wi-Fi I could find in the city. So anyway, we got the program up, and thank you very much for your patience. I've audited all the systems today, and hopefully everything will be okay. When you're working with all this technology and toys, these things happen. I sort of kept my cool most of the day. Anyway, welcome to the jungle. Here we are in Studio 2 for the final time. I'll be back in Phuket next week. And we've got our live program tomorrow, 9 a.m. I'll also be doing that from here, or maybe somewhere in Bangkok, but hope you can join us. It'll be 9 a.m. Thai time, and you can send us in your questions. I'll put up something on the comments area where you can send in some questions or comments about things we've been talking about this week. I've also got a few comments that I'll address a little bit later. Thank you to our sponsors, Caps Sandwiches. Pop in and say Sawadee Cap, and they'll give you a 10% discount there in their magnificent store. Well, not so magnificent, but great fresh food there in Cat 2. And also to 5 Star Marine. Thank you very much for your support as well. A link to both of those down below. 5 Star Marine if you'd like to head offshore to one of the 30 or so beautiful islands around the island of Phuket. So starting with this story from Thai PBS, it says the green light given for Robinhood and Grab to operate app-based taxi and bike taxi services. Like you, I was wondering who Robinhood were. I knew them as a sort of a day trading app for stocks and shares and things. Well, no, they're a food delivery service here in Bangkok, and their website looks very good, very professional, and I might try them one day because I do like to get delivered food from time to time. But let's see what the story's about. Up the top there, it says the Thailand's Land Transport Department, as you know, my very favourite people in the whole wide world, have given approval for app-based Robinhood and Grab to operate taxi and motorcycle taxi ride-hailing services in the country. Now, the private cars used will have to be re-registered as public transport vehicles. The drivers will have to apply for public transport driving licences and have their criminal records checked by the police. Because as we know, there are no criminals driving any public transport or taxis in Thailand. Then a bit further down, the Land Transport Department's previously approved ride-hailing services provided by Hello Phuket Service, Mongkut and Asia Cab Only. I can't say, although I remember them launching the Hello Phuket, but I've heard nothing about them since or any of those others mentioned. And down the bottom, conventional taxi and motorcycle taxi drivers in Thailand have strongly opposed such app-based services. Of course they do, claiming that they offer cheaper fares, heaven forbid, because they have fewer expenses, particularly by not having to change the status of their private vehicles into public transport. Well, just looking a bit further up in that article, we've already pointed out that the Land Transport Department said they will have to be re-registered as public transport vehicles. And also notice down the bottom of that, get rid of that silly thing there that keeps on coming up. Right down the bottom, most passengers, however, appear more satisfied with the app-based ride-hailing services because they're more reliable and their rates are fixed. I think this is called evolution. Do you use ride-hailing services? I tend to just walk out onto the street and put my hand up and get a motorcycle taxi or a taxi, or just walk to the BTS if I have to go for longer distances. But interested to know what your habits are with ride-hailing, and I'd like to hear about those in the comments section. We could perhaps have a look at getting around Bangkok and other parts of Thailand during our program tomorrow. But that one was from Thai PBS World. And also from Thai PBS World yesterday, chemical leak in Nakhon Pathom forces schools to send students home. Nakhon Pathom is to the east of Bangkok. It's a neighbouring province just to the east of the city. The main story here, a number of schools in Nakhon Pathom province were abruptly closed yesterday morning, and all students sent home after chemicals leaked from a plastic yarn factory. One netizen posted on Facebook saying that the smell from the gas leak was so strong it caused pain in his nose. And an official from the PCD, the Pollution Control Department, told Thai PBS that due to cloudy skies and poor air circulation, the strong smell from the gas spread over a large area and apparently was caused by heat transfer fluid. So a bit of a follow-up to that story, also on Thai PBS World. The factory's been closed for 15 days for inspection after yesterday's chemical leak. And the heat transfer fluid was biphenyl and diphenyl oxide, ethers in the aromatic benzene chemical group. I'm glad they clarified that. Obviously, they don't sound very good for you. The chemicals were quickly carried away and spread on the breeze. The third paragraph, people living in close vicinity to the factory were also advised by officials from the PCD to stay home, wear face masks and to close all windows and doors. Apparently this particular factory has been operating for 30 years and is in need of close inspection to find out the cause of the chemical leak. And down the bottom there, the odours of the chemicals spread more than 10 kilometres from the factory and could be sensed in Bangkok's Tawi Watana district. So it looks like disaster averted there, and that 30-year-old factory obviously needs a little bit of a check and maybe an update as well. Now today's next story from ThaiExaminer.com. Just for those people that have not heard of ThaiExaminer.com, they do sort of longer form articles. They could probably get together with a WordPress layout person and just make things a little bit easier to read. They have these huge chunks and blocks of words that just make it a little bit difficult to read. But they do these longer form articles aggregating information from a whole lot of other websites and do a good job too. Thailand turns to Russia as foreign tourist revenue is projected to be only 21% of the 2019 record figure. Plans to fly in Russian tourists via charter flights come as European countries have begun to block citizens of the Russian Federation due to the country's unprovoked invasion of Ukraine. Let's go further to this story. The TAT said that in the coming months, airline connectivity between Thailand and the rest of the world will be at 50% of that seen in 2019, as figures reveal a sharp fall-off in long-haul flights and spending per capita. We've been through this issue quite a lot in recent days, and the TAT, of course, it's their job to paint a rosy picture. I just think they should be honest and transparent, primarily. And Thailand's likely to end the year with just over a fifth of foreign tourism revenue seen back in 2019, despite reaching over 10 million visitors due to lower spending tourists. Well, it is notable that over the past 4 or 5 months, most of the travellers and tourists have been coming from short-haul Asian destinations, including Asia, including India and Malaysia. Of course, the Malaysians can just walk across the border. For people from India, it's just a 3 to 5 hour flight maximum, and there's plenty of flights, but they do tend to spend a little bit less per person per stay than people from other countries. So the story goes on saying that the Minister of Tourism and Sports, Paipat Ratchakiprakarn, appeared to throw in the towel on this year's tourism season. And down the bottom, this is only 21% of the level the kingdom saw in 2019, suggests that it will take some time for the industry to make a full recovery. Well, we've got the high season coming up, and I suppose a lot of people are hoping that they may be able to see some increase in the number of tourists coming to Thailand during the traditional high season. That sort of runs December through to February. A lot of Northern European people, for example, coming to enjoy some warmer sunshine and better weather. Whether that's going to happen this year to the numbers the TAT and other people expect, we don't yet know. Of course, we'll soon find out. But it's really up to the airlines to decide whether the traffic is there and whether it's worth their while adding planes and extra services to Thailand. So they're the ones who will be driving the bus in regards to what airlines and what flights are coming to Thailand. And you're watching TAT. It's a Friday. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you also for your patience yesterday. I do try and get the program out just after around about 9 a.m. Thai time each weekday. A few comments yesterday. This one from Ben. The visa thing is rather confusing. I want to visit from USA, but I would like to stay 8 weeks without worrying about extensions or leaving the country for a day and re-enter. Well, from the USA, you can enter after the 1st of October for 45 days, and then you'll be able to get a 30-day extension. You'll have to go to an immigration office and put your 1,900 baht on the table, fill in a few forms, show your passport and stuff. But so if you work out, that's 45 plus 30, that's 75. That's almost 8 weeks. Another comment here from A. Slater. What is visa exemption? 45 days rather than 30-day visa on arrival. Okay, there's 2 programs for tourists to come into Thailand without any previous paperwork. There's the visa exemption program, which is applicable to 64 countries. And that means you can come in and from the 1st of October get a 45-day entry into the kingdom. And it's not a visa as such, it's a visa exemption. It's currently 30 days, extendable for another 30, but it will be 45 days, extendable for another 30 after the 1st of October. The extension of 30 days is an assumption that hasn't actually been physically announced, but we're assuming that they'll stay to the old extension time. And the final one from David Hodgson. Hi Tim, when I come to Thailand in October, will I be able to get a one-way ticket in from the UK and an airline ticket to Vietnam at the end of my time in Thailand? My thinking is, David, that you do have to have a onward ticket out of Thailand to anywhere when you check in. Now, some airline staff may or may not check that. They're meant to. So I would advise you to get the cheapest onward ticket that you can and have that in your kit before you check in. Otherwise, you might find yourself hurriedly trying to find an internet connection and having to book a ticket. So, I mean, you could get a flight with AirAsia to KL or with Vietjet to Saigon, Ho Chi Minh City. So there's plenty of cheap onward flights that you can get. I would suggest you probably need to have one of those in your kit. Okay, to our next story today, we go to Khao Sod English and a Facebook post of theirs. The Student Council of the King Mongkut University of Technology, North Bangkok, says it will cease to have students crawl and prostrate to take oath in front of the statue of Rama IV during the admission and pledging ceremony. Male students will instead bow, while female students will curtsy. Students will also be able to dress according to their gender preference. Well, that is all very forward-thinking and goes against the grain of some of the more conservative universities in Thailand, where a lot of them still have these ceremonies where people are forced to prostrate themselves, like grovel on the ground, to various statues. So, quite forward-thinking there from the King Mongkut University of Technology in North Bangkok. Just another one here from Khao Sod English. People may complain about inflation and the sluggish economy. A spokesperson for the auto industry said the sales of automobiles in the month of August was 61.7% higher than the same period last year. So good to see some good sales figures for the auto market in Thailand. I noticed this because yesterday the word percent wasn't actually in the article. I'm glad they've gone in and corrected it. It said it was 61.7 times higher than the same period last year, which I thought, wow, that is really a good figure. But of course, it's 61.7% higher. But that in itself is still a really big increase in new car sales. I've been one of them. And so there we can see that even motorcycles also rose significantly last month. 171,000 motorcycles sold, an increase of 64.5%. So good news for the auto industry. This one from the Bangkok Post, also a Facebook-only article. A family uses a rabbit pedestrian crossing in Bangkok. Similar crossings with vehicle slowdown signs and coloured paint on the road are being introduced elsewhere to provide better road safety for pedestrians. Just noting there, they've got this new sign, a rabbit with the striped road. So my question is, why are they sort of changing the iconography? The zebra crossing, the black and white stripes across the road have been very prominent for years. Now we do note from that picture that a lot of them are using these red or sort of pale red and white striped areas, and they usually accompany it with a different surface so that you can hear it when you're running over them. Hopefully before you run over somebody going through the actual crossing. But I'm wondering why they are changing it to like a rabbit crossing rather than a zebra crossing. Anyway, watch out for them, and if it appeals to young children to perhaps be more aware of the rabbits rather than zebras, well, whatever works, as long as it works and it keeps people safe. This from nationthailand.com, just noting that Yingluck and Thaksin Shinawatra are both former Prime Ministers of Thailand, run out of the country by incoming coups at the time, apparently buoyed by his victory last month in a tax case to do with the ShinCorp shares. Former PM Thaksin Shinawatra and his sister, also ex-PM Yingluck Shinawatra, came very close to Thailand, visiting Penang, Malaysia. Noticing down there, the surprise visit to the Malaysian border town south of Thailand created huge excitement as many Penang residents instantly recognised them and approached them for selfies. And the nation Thailand saying that perhaps it's a subtle political message for Thailand. There they are, sitting in a rickshaw, travelling around Penang. By the way, Penang is very similar to Phuket town. In fact, they have both been called Pearls of the Andaman in the past, or Pearls of the Orient. And Penang used to be a very, very popular place in like the 70s and 80s, sort of seen as a exotic destination for travellers. But then Phuket was discovered and sort of took over, and not as many tourists go to Penang as used to. But if you drive around Georgetown, very similar architecture and vibe to old Phuket town in Phuket. But is it a subtle dig at the current government here in Thailand? It certainly is. And just another quick political story from the Bangkok Post. Party touts kingmaker role. We see there Anutin, Shavirakun. Bumjai Thai denies rift over dope and loans. The Bumjai Thai aims to become the core party in the formation of a government after the next election, according to Anutin. And he says they want to lead the next political bloc to emerge after the poll. In other words, they want to get the most number of votes of any party after the next election, which means that they can then go to speak to some of the other parties and try and form a coalition. As far as winning the highest number of votes, Bumjai Thai will not win the most number of votes in the next election, which is now hotly being tipped as happening during May next year. That means the government, the current coalition, will leave it to the last minute to call. That would be March the 23rd next year, which means the election would be held sometime late April or May. And further on in that article, regarding the party's next prime ministerial candidate, Anutin said party regulations stipulate only the party leader can be nominated. He's the party leader. And then asked which party Bumjai Thai would ally itself with after the poll. He said they'd have to wait until the election results. Then the party would analyse which parties have compatible policies. No, they'll determine which parties have got the highest number of MPs in Parliament that can help them form a government. It's got nothing to do with their policies. A lot of these smaller parties in Thailand, political parties, just go with the breeze and follow any particular faction that gets them into power. This story from Nikkei Asia, I always say it wrong, but anyway, Japan to allow visa-free individual tourists from October the 11th. Japan will resume visa-free entry for individual travellers on October the 11th, according to the Japanese PM. bringing its border rules close to pre-pandemic norms for the first time in about 2.5 years. Noting down the bottom, starting on October the 11th, short-term visitors will no longer be required to apply for tourist visas. Before the pandemic, Japan allowed visa-free short-term travel from people from 68 countries and regions, such as Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, Hong Kong, and the US. And with no need to book tours through travel agencies, it will be easier to visit. So it looks like Japan, too, is getting on with things and opening up for travellers and tourists again. And with that, I thank you very much for tuning in today and during the week. And sorry about yesterday. Thank you very much to Cap Sandwiches in Katu. Drop in and say Sawadi Cap. Get your 10% discount, and to 5-Star Marine for a magnificent private tour to those islands around Phuket. And there are links in the description under this video. Let's hope we don't have another day like yesterday ever again. And I'd like to invite you to join us tomorrow morning for another chat. Just you and me and your comments and thoughts. And the following Saturday, back in Phuket, I've got actually a co-host, so we'll introduce you to them. That'll be the following Saturday. Tomorrow I'll be here running solo. But I do look forward to having a chat with you live. It's always an interesting program. We come with nothing and we end up with something. So that's always a bit of fun. But I hope you have a fantastic weekend. We look forward to seeing you next week. And thank you for joining us on TNT.